Through a snowy field in the Wild West, cutthroat Bill rides a bike, her figure slicing through the white landscape as she notices Lula standing nearby. Eventually, she reaches a church where a funeral is being held. Everyone steps back in fear, aware of Bill's reputation. No one dares stop her as she steps forward, opens the coffin, and takes a jacket from the corpse as if it were hers to claim. Meanwhile, Lula walks home through the snow to find her brother Jack waiting. He breaks the news that both their parents have died of smallpox. Trembling, Lula steps inside, stares at the bodies, and grieves in silence. Soon, their grandfather Caleb arrives, and together, they say a prayer as a final goodbye. To stop the disease from spreading, they burn the house before leaving for their aunt's place in Texas. In an abandoned town, Bill reunites with her ruthless gang. They ride to the river crossing, only to find that Caleb's family has paid for the ferry first. Bill demands that Caleb pay for her too, even making a mocking pass at Lula. Caleb stands tall to defend his granddaughter, drawing his gun. The gang instantly reacts, raising their weapons. Suddenly, the ferry rope snaps with a loud crack, startling everyone. In the confusion, Caleb fires, the bullet grazing Bill's head. Furious, she shoots him twice, killing him on the spot. The gang knocks Jack unconscious and kidnaps Lula before vanishing into the wilderness. Sometime later, in Sylvester Town, the gang stops at a store to steal supplies. The store owner has a gun but is too frightened to use it. Bill smirks, forcing him to humiliate himself by sucking candy from her palm. Outside, Lula wakes up on a horse and sees the store owner's young son. She whispers for him to run, but the gang notices and turns back. The store owner, desperate to protect his boy, opens fire, injuring one gangster's hand. Bill immediately shoots him in the head. Lula slips on the muddy ground trying to flee, and when the boy runs to help her, he's shot down too. Bill calmly steps over the bodies and captures Lula again, her cruelty cold as the snow. By the river, Jack awakens to find Lula and their cart gone. He kneels beside his grandfather's body, trying to pray but breaking down in tears. Determined to save his sister, he rides to Sylvester and sees the townsfolk gathering. They've captured a man they think is Bill and plan to hang him for the murder at the store. Jack tries to push through the angry crowd to ask about Lula, but is thrown to the ground. As he looks up, he spots Jimmy Sue being forced into a carriage by Hector. Amid the chaos, no one hears her cries. Moments later, the accused man is hanged while Jack desperately tries to reach him but gets knocked out. Meanwhile, in the woods, the gang stops to rest. Lula insists her brother will come for her. Bill coldly tells her Jack is dead. While tending to one man's injured hand, Bill doesn't notice Lula stealing a gun from a saddle. Shaking, Lula points it at her captor, but fear overtakes her. Bill snatches it back and fires twice near Lula's head as punishment. At dawn, Jack wakes beside the hanged man's corpse, startled by gravedigger Eustace, who is about to bury him alive. Eustace tells him the gang was seen heading north. Jack offers money to borrow their car, but it belongs to Eustace's friend, Jones. At a tavern, Jones, a short but dangerous man, argues with an alderman who tries to cheat him on payment. When the alderman mocks his height, Jones moves like lightning, slicing his arm and pointing a gun to his face before taking his money. The alderman sends men after him, but Jones releases their horses to slow them down. As they fire from afar, Eustace picks him up in his car with Jack hiding in the back. Once they're safe, Jack tells Jones about Lula's kidnapping and Bill's bounty. Jones uses a scoped gun to shoot one of their pursuers from a distance, scaring the rest away. He refuses to help Jack, but the boy follows anyway, stealing a dead man's horse. Meanwhile, Bill forces Lula to strip off her fancy clothes so she won't stand out, burning them before giving her one of the men's shirts. That night, Jones tries to rob Jack as he sleeps, but Eustace stops him, saying the bounty could be worth it. When Jack wakes, Jones agrees to help, but only if Jack works for him. At the same time, the alderman hires Simon and Malachi, the notorious DC brothers, to hunt down Jones. After a long day of riding, Jones's group stops to rest. Jack recalls Christian quotes from his grandfather, but Jones corrects him, revealing they're actually from Hamlet. The next day, Lula asks to relieve herself in the woods and accidentally cuts her hand, leaving blood behind. That night, one gang member tries to assault her while the others watch. Lula smashes a bottle over his head and screams for help. Bill wakes and, seeing through the man's lie, crushes his groin in fury. Afterward, she lies beside Lula, wrapping her arms around her protectively. By morning, the DC brothers find Lula's blood trail and follow it north. Meanwhile, Jack's group reaches another town to trade the car for horses. Inside a tavern, Jack discovers that Jimmy Sue has been forced into prostitution by Hector. He tries to buy her freedom, saying he wants to help her, not use her. Hector laughs, taking his money before beating both of them bloody. Jack finally grabs a fire poker and knocks Hector out. Jimmy spits on her abuser before fleeing with Jack. They reunite with Jones and Eustace, and Jimmy tells them she knows where Bill's gang was last seen. In the forest, Lula learns from one of the gang members that they're heading to the Thicket, an unreachable hideout where Bill has taken other girls before. Those who tried to escape were cut up. Later, Jones's group captures one of Bill's men, torturing him for information, but he refuses to speak. Jones finds out Bill's bounty is small and walks away in disgust, leaving Jack and Jimmy to handle the man. The captive finally reveals the gang's location before dying. While the group plans, Lula escapes into the woods and runs straight into the DC brothers. They promise to protect her, bringing her to their camp and explaining they're hunting a dwarf. Suddenly, horses thunder in the distance. Bill and her gang arrive. She throws Simon into the fire and kills him with a shot through his badge, while Malachi escapes. Bill quickly recaptures Lula before leaving. Grieving and furious, Malachi swears revenge. The next morning, Jack and Jimmy find Jones and Eustace again, offering Caleb's land as payment for helping rescue Lula. Jones agrees and gives Jack a gun. Later, in a small inn, Jones orders whiskey and unexpectedly finds Bill there. The two exchange sharp insults, his height, her scars, but share a moment of respect as fellow outcasts. She even offers him candy before leaving. Outside, Lula overhears the gang talking about Bill's dwarf friend, realizing Jones is nearby. Jones loudly mentions Jack's name to the innkeeper, and Lula understands her brother is searching for her. Hidden outside, Eustace, Jack, and Jimmy wait for Jones's signal, but he holds back because Lula is in the line of fire. Suddenly, Malachi sneaks up behind Jimmy and takes a hostage. Jones talks him down, and Malachi agrees to join them for revenge. Meanwhile, Bill burns down a church and assaults the priest, leaving him scarred but alive. The next day, Jones's group finds the priest barely breathing. He tells them how to reach the thicket and warns that Lula won't survive the spring. He also reveals Bill's past. Her mother was cruel and abusive, calling her daughter a curse. As a child, Bill locked her mother inside their home and burned it to ashes. Shaken, the group moves on. Tension rises when Jack defies Jones's leadership. Angry, Jones mocks him by offering Jimmy money for fun. Jack lunges, and Jones pins him down easily, threatening to shoot. Jimmy steps in, saying they're all acting out of fear and that Jones is helping because he cares. Eustace agrees, and Jones finally apologizes. In the woods, Lula asks Bill if she intends to kill her. Bill admits she doesn't know, resting her scarred head on Lula's lap. Meanwhile, Jones's team follows fading tracks into the thicket despite the blizzard. At camp that night, Jones and Jack reconcile. Jones confides that his mother took her own life and his father sold him to a circus. He tells Jack his sister will never forget him. The next day, they finally locate the gang's hideout, a shack deep in the forest. They plan a silent attack, but Malachi, burning with vengeance, sneaks around the back. When a man steps out, Malachi attacks but is quickly overpowered and stabbed repeatedly. Hearing the struggle, Jimmy opens fire and kills the gangster, exposing their position. Eustace orders a full assault. The men rush forward, bullets flying as snow turns red. Jones circles the shack from behind. Inside, Lula hides while Bill ignores the chaos, unmoved. Suddenly, Lula runs out the back, and Bill follows with her gun blazing, dragging the girl into the foggy woods. Eustace and Jack drive off the remaining gang members. Ignoring warnings, Jack chases into the forest to save Lula. Meanwhile, Jimmy faces another gangster. She shoots him, but he tackles her. They struggle in the snow until he stabs her. With her dying breath, she shoots him again, and they both fall still. Elsewhere, Jones finds Eustace gravely wounded. Eustace tells him to finish the job. As Jones sets up his scoped rifle, a gangster ambushes him, and they roll violently through the snow, fighting for the gun. In the forest, Jack hides behind a tree as Bill's laughter echoes. She fires, hitting his shoulder, then the other. Lula rushes to him as Bill approaches, gun clicking empty. Lula leaps at her, striking her face again and again. Dizzy, Bill raises a knife to slash Lula's throat, but Jones fires a single shot through her head. Bill whispers "Mama" before collapsing dead. Lula embraces Jack, but is too wounded to move. He dies in her arms as she screams in anguish. Jones returns to Eustace, who smiles faintly, glad Bill is gone. They share a final moment before Eustace dies, tears frozen on his cheeks. Afterward, Lula cuts off Bill's head and rides with Jones to the nearest sheriff. When he offers to make Jones famous, Jones declines, asking to stay anonymous. To their surprise, the Real bounty is large after all. Later, Lula buys new clothes, and the two ride together toward Caleb's land. There, they bury Jack in the backyard. Lula wears a faint scar on her neck, a mark of survival. The Wild West is still harsh, but for the first time, Lula isn't alone. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.